Hey everybody, Fubar Prime here. So we're doing another one of these. I think what we're going to try this time. So for those of you who are familiar with the Twitch integration, we have the murder chicken. So I've always thought it'd be a cool idea to maybe sneak it into the real game. And what I was thinking was we could modify a version of it to say it is passive like the boar, and then if you hit it, it'll start attacking. We'll make sure it still looks exactly like the other chicken, but we'll give it some stats. Maybe we'll give it a new buff. We'll go ahead and make like a mad chicken disease, and then we will make an elixir that maybe cures it, and then I think that's it. Maybe we'll make sure it spawns. I mean, that's kind of a given. So let's go ahead and start messing with that. Okay, so here we are. So this is the murder chicken. It's got its properties, like the map icon, the tracker icon. It's got a few other things, the sounds that it plays, the AI tasks, the hand item. That's going to be really important. So we're gonna basically make an extension of this. Now, I don't want to go too far into the AI task stuff. So a lot of things you're going to do with this modding. You're going to find something that works and you're going to copy it in. I'm not going to go too far into all these things. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to make a entity class. We're going to call it animal chicken surprise. Because that's what it's going to do. Because what we want is for this animal chicken to look like a normal chicken. But when you mess with it, it's going to attack you. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to copy something from off screen that I have. It is the AI task. Like I said, I want to keep these pretty basic. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff. This, it goes from top to bottom, chooses what it's going to do. Then it's also, this is how it gets its targets. I really don't want to go too much further because it's kind of a confusing topic. This is mostly taken from the base class, which is animal template hostile. But let's keep going. So the only thing we need to do to make this chicken is we need to do the property of hand item. And that's how all of these entities work. All the zombies, everybody, they have a hand item. We're going to call it, whoops, if we can spell and put it in the right case, we're going to call it melee hand animal chicken. Now, if you look at the murder chicken up here, it's actually using the coyote hand. But we're going to make our own. I want it to be different because, like I said, I want to give you like a mad chicken disease. I think that's what I want to call it. So we're going to go with that. So we're going to save. And then now we're going to head on over to the Items.xml. Okay, so now we're over here. This is that melee hand animal coyote that we looked at before. Now, like I said, a lot of times with these kind of things, we're going to do some copy and pasting, and then we're going to make our own. It's a lot to type out. I don't really want to do. I don't want to type out the whole thing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to rename it to chicken. Let's see. The hold type is right. Action. So as you can see, that's obsolete if the rounds, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to reduce that because in our case it should work. I kind of want it to be a little stronger. That's just me being, like I want it to hit further. I want it to hit a little harder. I mean, these are all playing with numbers. It's nothing major. So we're gonna stick with this for now. Here we're gonna remove that line because that's not really needed. So we're gonna leave it at this for now. We're gonna come back here in just a minute because we're gonna make a buff. We're gonna make a buff kind of like this buff fatigued trigger. We're gonna have one that is for our mad chicken disease. So we're gonna make it, and then you know what? Here, I'm gonna go ahead and actually we'll go ahead and set it up. We're gonna call it Buff Mad Chicken Disease Trigger. And then so what we're doing here what's happening with this trigger defect. So the buff system is very complex, and this is a part of it. So what this does, this triggered effect, we are saying when this chicken attacks someone else, attacks an other, we're going to add the buff. We're going to add a buff to the target, the other person. We're going to do one buff. It's going to pick one of these, and then it's got weights. So it's kind of like, hey, percentage chance that's going to give it. Now, for our test, I'm going to make it just crazy high. I'm going to do like 0.8. So pretty much if it hits, it's going to give it to them. No big deal, but we want to just test it because we want to see it happen. You can play with this number if you want it to be less. As you can see it with these others, they happen at a different rate. So let's go ahead now over to the Buffs.xml. We're going to have a lot to type in there. Let's get to it. So the Buffs.xml, it's super complex. I could spend, and we probably will. We'll probably do a lot more videos on this. I want to keep this as basic as possible. Because if you look through here, all this can get very daunting very fast. There's so much stuff in here. It's a crazy nightmare. But it is really powerful, and it can do what we want. But we just gotta be a little simple about it. So we're gonna do this a little simple to start out with. So the first things first, we're gonna copy this buff fatigue trigger. I'm gonna put it right above. Once again, at some point we should start kind of packaging these into their own things. Still probably not going to do that just yet, but we'll do it in one of these. We'll start kind of packaging it. So we're going to call this Buff Mad Chicken Disease Trigger. And then we're gonna rename this Mad Chicken Disease Trigger. It's a hidden buff, so it doesn't really matter. All this does, so for the fatigue, all this does, you get this buff, and it checks, hey, do I have the vitamins buff? If I don't have it, then I can go ahead and trigger this buff. So it's kind of like an early warning to make sure that you are not giving. So what will happen if we don't do this and we just gave them the fatigue, as soon as the fatigue turned on, it would turn right back off. So you would see it for that half second. We don't want that. That looks ugly. Now, we're going to keep it as buff drug vitamins for now. We are going to write our own buff to replace that. We're gonna write something, but we're just not gonna do it yet. So let's go ahead now, and we're gonna write our own buff to go with this. We're gonna do the Buff Mad Chicken Disease, if I can spell. We're gonna do a name key. So most of the time you would do localized keys in here. There would be an entry in the localization text. We're just going to type it in. It will read it out. There's probably a lot of things that we can do better. I want to get the basics up here for you. You got bit by a crazy chicken. Sure. Okay. And then let's see. Is there anything else? We could do a tooltip. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. We'll just say the same thing. You got bit by a crazy chicken. And what that does, that will make it where when you get this buff, it'll pop up in right above the toolbar. We're going to do an icon. Let's see, UI game, symbol, tracking, chicken. And then for icon color, we want to do, that's the bad color. That's, yeah. I don't want to close it up. I'm going to close it up like this. Okay, so this is what you need to have the basics of a start. There's a lot of things we're going to have to add, and I'll try to explain them each. So we need to have a damage type. We're going to just use bashing. That's kind of bashing. We need a stack type. That is going to be, there's a lot of options. We're going to use replace, which means it can just keep giving it to you. Duration. So on a lot of these buffs, they use kind of this format where they use a CVAR. A CVAR is a variable that can be used inside here. It's used all through the XMLs. This is very complex. We'll have a long discussion about CVARs at some point. Like I said, I really want to keep this simple. So we're just going to do the simplest method we can to make this work so I can kind of show you this. I really don't want to overwhelm you. And it's really easy with this system to overwhelm people. So we're gonna try to keep it. We're just gonna do 90 seconds. Nothing. And the reason why they do it this way, or why we do it this way, is use that to allow perks to affect it. It's probably important for what we're doing, but like I said, I want to keep it simple. So let's keep it simple for now. Maybe we'll jump back to this at some point. So the display value, that's the number that's next to it. We're telling it, hey, we want to take the duration, we want to convert it to a time and show it next to the icon. So you'll see that. So now we got to do the effect group. There are a few things we do for this. Okay, so let's do. There is a passive effect, and see some of this is kind of okay. How about this? Let's do it this way. All of them basically have this right here. This buff blink. That's what we're doing. I'm not going to type it out, but I will explain it. So what happens is it has a passive effect. That is an effect that is applied to the character based off of, if you define the name, which can be things like the entity damage. It can be, but in this case, we're using it for buff blink. Buff blink means that this buff will blink at I forgot what the value, why it's 2, but it's saying in the last 3 seconds it will blink. That's all we're saying with this. It's pretty simple. Most buffs have it. Right at the end, you get that nice little blink. So be sure to copy that one. What else? We could do, let's see. Actually, I think that's good for now. We'll do more stuff in there. We're going to do more stuff in a minute. Let's do another effect group. You can have as many effect groups. It's nice for grouping. So what I'm going to use this one for is anything that needs to happen that is more buff related. Like I'm going to use it to when you actually. So I'm going to use it for this buff link, and I'm going to use it for anything that is like something happens at the end or something happens at the beginning of the buff. I'm going to go ahead and use this group for that. For this other group, this is going to be the crazy effect that's going to happen. Now, I thought long and hard about this before I did this video. I'm going to take the confuse from the Twitch integration. It's a very simple effect, but still very effective. And I'm going to turn it on. So all this does is just flip your controls. So this right here should now work. We now have the buff mad chicken disease. So at this point, I can demonstrate. Yeah. Let's clean that just a little bit. I think that everything should work. As long as we don't have the vitamins, we should be good. So let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, real quick, I did notice something. I forgot to switch. So you see this right here, the on buff start, we actually still had it as buff fatigued. We need to fix that. So now it is the mad chicken disease. Should make all this work. Okay, so we are back on the roof. Let's go ahead and give it a go. I am wearing the tough guy shirt, so that's why you see I have a lot of health. That should prepare me for this. Come on. There it is. Okay, so now if I move forward and back. Oh my god. That's all I'm getting is just... So I had the flip controls. So let's go ahead. Now, I want to go ahead and make the elixir. I want to make a mad chicken disease elixir to kind of cure this. So let's go mess with that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make something like the drug vitamins. We're probably going to extend from it. We're just going to call it mad chicken elixir. Let's go ahead and move this up so it's more in the center of our screen. Now, the only thing we need to do is we need to do an extends. It's going to use a lot of the values of drug vitamins. We're going to, like we did in the craftable bear statue, we're going to do a custom icon. We're going to use, we're going to type the right thing. We're going to use drug vitamins. And then we're going to do a custom icon tint. And with that, we're going to use the same value we used before. I kind of like that color. Now, as you can see with this one, it does the action of using the painkillers, and then it also does another effect group. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do something just pretty simple. We're going to call it effect group tiered false. That just means it's not going to base it off of quality levels, and it's not, because we don't have quality levels in this. It's just an item. Now, we're going to use a triggered effect. We're going to trigger on self primary action end. So after it finishes doing the animation, we're going to do the action of add buff. And the buff, we're going to make a new buff called buff drug mad chicken elixir. And then we're actually going to look, you see right here, these three values. These three display, we're just going to fill them in. There's a lot more we can do with this. We're not really setting any sort of like description. We're not setting a lot of things. I think it just looks weird if these three are missing, because if you go to the stats, it's just going to show blanks. Now, as far as the duration, 720 is a lot. We'll make it 5 minutes. So this is in seconds. So that's the mad chicken elixir. Now, I want to go ahead and make a recipe. We're just going to put it right in the middle of these. Once again, later we'll package them up better. I'm just trying to show you some stuff. So we're going to do, the name is Mad Chicken Elixir. Now, most of the time you'd make it this one word and then you would point to localization. This also works. So we're going to do this for now. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep it very simple. We're going to do a count of 1. We need the tags learnable, because I kind of want to do something different with this. So what I'm going to do, we're going to jump around a little bit. We are going to, so we're going to make it, whenever you get this debuff, this Mad Chicken Elixir, you're going to learn how to make it. It's a little crazy, but I think that's what I'd like to do. So we're going to put some boiled water in here. We're also going to put, you know what? We're going to do corn. You know, why not? We're going to make it corn. We're going to make it water. You got to have those. That's it for that one. Okay, but now we need to go ahead and make the buff for this. We're going to call it Buff Drug Mad Chicken Elixir. We'll do the same thing. Oh, God, if I could type. We're going to do the same thing. Mad Chicken Elixir. Now let's scroll down so you can see a little better, even though it's in the middle of all this stuff. description key. I mean, just as simple as cures the mad chicken disease and makes you immune. Okay, so like I said before, we don't have to fill all this in. It would have been fine. We do need an icon. We're going to use the same thing. If I can, man, I am just having all sorts of problems typing. We're going to use that same chicken symbol. We're going to set the color. Let's just set it to. Let's just set it to green. And then buff. Okay, let me double check that. Okay, so the description, the icon. Yeah, that's right. That is right. Okay. So now, what is this going to do? So what we need to do? Well, we need to do a couple things. It's that same stuff we did on the other one. It's not going to have a damage type this time. So, but it will have a stack type. Value equals replace. We're going to have a duration. We said about 5 minutes. And then same thing before, we need to display duration. Now, effect group. Actually, what we may do here, let's go look at drug vitamins. There it is. We're going to add this right here, this buff resistance. Now, whoop, go back to where we were. Oh man, I hope that wasn't too jarring. Okay, so we're back here. We're going to go ahead and close up this group. We're going to put this in. So we're going to make a buff resistance. But the buff that we are going to resist from is our mad chicken. Okay, easy enough. Also, why don't we do this as well? We're going to do another one of those triggered effects. We're going to say trigger on self buff start. So when this buff starts, we are just going to remove buff. Buff equals that buff mad chicken disease. Okay. So, what else can we do? Let's do. Okay, so we talked about having. We talked about having the. Okay, I want to do two things. I want to go ahead and put in a sound so I know the buff is finished. Yeah, I want to do that. Let's do play sound, the sound. We're going to use the pain sound. So, and we're going to play it in our head. Okay, so what this does, when the buff is finished, so once the duration's over, it will play a sound of the chicken in pain in your head. And then we also need to do, oh, you know what, I messed this up. Triggered effect. Okay. And that's trigger. Man, I'm just messing that up, man. Okay. And then we're going to do another one. So we're going to do a triggered effect. But we're actually going to do on self buff start. We're going to say action. Okay, so to give a recipe, all you need to do is do modify cvar. You name it the name of the recipe. You do a set, and the value equals 1. And that right there will handle it. So we've now made it where it does the chicken pain sound and it does the unlocking of the recipe. Only thing we have left is we're going to take this buff drug and we're going to replace, remember at the beginning, whenever we made this trigger, we said, hey, if you have this buff, you can't use this. So we're going to put that there. So now let's go ahead and let's see, what else do we need to do? We made the recipe. We made the item. I think pretty much we are good to go. Let's take one last look at the item. Gives you the right buff. Yeah, no, I think we're good, everybody. Okay, so now we have our Mad Chicken Elixir. These are the values we set that I showed you inside the XML. So now let's go ahead and try it out. So we're going to spawn another chicken. And we have one more step after this. Let's try this. Okay, so we now have it. Now we're going to use this. And see, now it cannot give us the mad chicken disease. So that's perfect. We're going to go and kill it. Okay, so the last thing left is we need to go into EntityGroups.xml. And in here, we want to find the biome animal groups. So we want these to spawn in the forest. I think that's where we want it. So you see how animal rabbit, animal chicken, and none. So these numbers need to equal 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our animal chicken surprise and we'll go ahead. Why don't we do this? We're going to change, I kind of want chickens to spawn a little more for our test. So we're going to do 10, we're going to do 10, we're going to change this to 75. So that now equals 100. So let's go ahead now and go try this out. Now, it's going to be a little tricky because we're going to have to fly around and find some chickens. Actually, we should probably... Actually, we could just crank this up a bit, just to test it. We'll do 30, 30, and then 35, right? Okay, let's do that. Let's go try it out. Okay, so we are back in game. Now, we're going to have to just kind of fly around a little bit and see. Just look around for some chickens. I'm going to skip ahead until I find one. Okay, everybody, as you can see, it has spawned in the world. So I think that's about it. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. Tell me what you think about, how this is going with all these tutorials. I didn't want this to be too complicated, and so I hope this came across pretty well. I know that some of those files are a little daunting, like I said before. So let me know if there's anything I can explain better. I'll try to incorporate it in one of the next videos. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.